After pushing through a regular season filled with setbacks and injuries, the Indiana Fever entered the playoffs not just as underdogs, but as survivors. The odds weren't just stacked against them, they were towering. Facing the third-seeded Atlanta Dream in the first game of the WNBA playoffs, the Fever knew that the margin for error was thinner than paper. But what they didn't expect was that their battle wouldn't be limited to the court. From the moment the whistle blew, it was clear they weren't just fighting the Dream. They were battling something much bigger. Questionable officiating and pressure so intense, it felt like the universe was trying to tip the scales. Every play mattered. Every possession felt like life or death. And from the very beginning, the game threw punches that tested not just their skills, but their nerve. The game opened with a burst of promise for the Fever. Their defense was sharp, forcing an early shot clock violation and setting the tone. Kelsey Mitchell made a beautiful cut to the basket, scoring off a slick backdoor play. Bree Jones followed with a powerful left-handed hook. But the Dream weren't sleeping. They responded quickly, with Alicia Gray slicing to the lane for a tough finish, reminding everyone why Atlanta was a top-seeded threat. The Fever held their ground, with AB attacking inside and scoring back-to-back buckets, treating Atlanta's bigs like crispy chicken nuggets. Natasha Howard hustled hard, getting deflections on defense, while Lexi Brown used crafty dribble handoffs to create space and clean looks. Momentum started to lean Indiana's way. But just when things started heating up, the referees stepped in, not to manage the game, but seemingly to control it. Foul calls that didn't make sense. Contact that didn't exist. Indiana challenged what they could, and luckily, a few decisions were reversed. But in a game like this, even one bad call can break rhythm. And there were more than just one. Indiana still fought with everything they had. Gray missed an easy layup, and Kelsey made her pay immediately with a deep three. But as the Fever's lead began to build, the Dream answered right back, drilling back-to-back threes to stop the bleeding. Mitchell responded with a ridiculous jelly off the glass, beating a mismatch against Griner. It felt like Indiana was in control, until the referees yanked the steering wheel again. Lexi was called for a foul that didn't exist. Coach Stephanie White had to burn another challenge, and though justice was momentarily served with a reversal, the cost was high. By the time the second quarter began, Indiana had already used both their challenges. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no choice. And when another phantom foul was called on a light collision during transition, White had to let it go. The result? Alicia Gray cashed in with a fast break layup, and the Dream began to claw their way back. The Fever tried to respond with mid-range jumpers, with Kelsey cooking the pick and rolls and Lexi trying to shake off her shooting struggles. But momentum is a delicate thing. A 6-0 run from the Dream changed everything. Then another bad foul call. This time AB was accused of contact she didn't commit. The replay showed hands straight up. Contact initiated by the offensive player. White used her final challenge and won, but it was too late. By halftime, the Fever trailed by 7. Their confidence shaken, their trust in the game's fairness even more so. The third quarter brought a fresh sense of urgency. Lexi Brown hit a big corner three to start things off. Then she drew an offensive foul from Gray. It looked like Indiana was ready to punch back. Kelsey grabbed a long rebound and hit a smooth 15-footer to tie it up, but the Dream had an answer for everything. Ryan Howard dropped a corner triple off a hammer action, and Kelsey came back with a different kind of three, an and-one floater that kept the Dream alive. The game turned into a back-and-forth war. Boston took an elbow from Griner in a rebounding battle, no whistle. But the moment Lexi tried to play tough D, the whistle blew instantly. The Fever had no more challenges left. All they could do was watch as Atlanta marched to the line again and again. Still, Indiana stayed within reach, trailing by just 5 points going into the fourth. The energy was tense. The crowd was locked in. But you could feel the frustration boiling just under the surface, like a volcano waiting to blow. And then it did. Within the first minute of the fourth quarter, AB was called for her fourth foul. The replay showed the opposing player falling on her own, but the whistle was blown anyway. Then, just 5 seconds later, another foul, her fifth, gone from the game in a blink. That was the turning point. The Fever, emotionally drained and mentally rattled, couldn't recover. Coach Stephanie White finally lost her cool when Shea Petty was dragged and shoved by Hillman. No call. She was hit with a technical. Sims was teed up shortly after for simply poking the ball. Atlanta, capitalizing on the chaos, buried free throws and followed with a cold-blooded three. In the blink of an eye, a 5-point deficit turned into 12, and from there, the game slipped away. The referees continued to tilt the scales, calling fouls in one direction and swallowing whistles in the other. As Jones shoved Howard into the referee on a late play, it was clear the Fever were never going to be allowed to win this game. The final score, 80-68, Atlanta. Nobody likes using up both of their challenges in the first half, especially when they're both successful. That should tell you something about the officiating. And yet, despite everything, the unfair calls, the broken rhythm, the missed threes, Indiana held their own for 3 quarters. Their defense wasn't
downhill
bad.
for them after
Their
that,
effort
as the
never
Dream
dipped.
pulls away
But to
to
win the next game,
victory.
it can't just be
It's
the
very
Kelsey
frustrating.
Mitchell show.
Very frustrating.
It
Nobody
has
likes
be
to
the
use
Indiana
their
Fever show.
challenges in the
Because
first
in a
half,
5 versus
especially when
8
they're
matchup,
successful.
There is
defense
no
isn't
room
that
for
bad,
mistakes,
and they were
no
able to
margin
hang
for
with the
error,
Dream
and
until
no
the
forgiveness
first 2
from either
minutes
the
of the
opponent
4th.
or the refs.
But to win game
To pull
2,
off a miracle,
it can't just be the
they'll
Kelsey
need
Mitchell
more than
show.
talent.
It has to
They'll
be
need
the Indiana
unity,
Fever
discipline,
show. Because
and the
in
will
this
to rise
5
above
versus
everything
8
stacked
matchup,
against them.
the Fever